edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Fortunate enough to be partnered with BetMGM. All right. You might say that I'm an idiot. You're probably right. I would bet the Denver Nuggets on BetMGM to win in 5 against the Miami Heat right there. Jason Shear, do you agree with this?
I'm going to go 6.
All right, you're going to go 6. Whoever you think's smarter, adjust your bet accordingly. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. And again, all kinds of good stuff going there. And now let's hear Shane with the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right, now, Shear, Arizona got its man, Caleb Love. Now, you and I have drastically different opinions of Caleb Love. We're gonna break this out here, but first, I think we can all agree that, what are your skepticisms first? I've been talking about this all week. What is Jason Shear's skepticism of Caleb Love?
The biggest thing for me is his efficiency isn't good, and there's games where he puts up 23 shots and makes 6 of them. And so my skepticism is basically, will that continue at Arizona, or can he fix that up? Can he, raise the efficiency numbers and all that?
All right, players though there is precedent for players changing their style of play. You reject the Terrell Brown Jr. comparison because why again?
Well, there's multiple reasons. Number one, he went from Seattle to Arizona. And number 2, he still transferred out because he wasn't happy about not putting up as many shots.
All right.
To his credit, he did adapt at Arizona, but.
All right. I've got the ultimate comparison for you right now, and I stole this from your board. Remy Martin spent 4 years at ASU shooting a ton of shots, went to Kansas, became scored a lot less, became a more efficient player, and helped Kansas be a good team. What say you?
That's
a great comparison. Say it right now.
Sure. So you think Caleb Love is willing to play 21 minutes and average 8 points a game?
No, but okay. I'm saying it can be done, though. I'm saying it can be done.
Sure, it can be done. Anything can be done.
All right. Caleb Love, though, I think we now know at this point on the perimeter. And Jacob Franklin, if you can pull up that nifty graphic of the roster we have, this keeps getting updated daily. I like this very, very much. All right. Kylan Boswell, Oumar Ballo, Pello Larson, Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, and Keshad Johnson. Those 6 guys, Shear, are all playing between 28 to 32 minutes per game. Agreed?
Yes, I would agree with that.
All right. Now, I think what's going to be fascinating to see is how this plays out. And again, thanks, Jacob, by the way. I'm not too concerned about that top 6 right there or who starts. But I also believe that, and again, I have no inside info. I don't believe Caleb Love is coming here not to start, though. What am I wrong or am I right?
No, I would be really borderline shocked if Caleb Love said, you know what, I'm cool with being the 6th man, and Tommy Lloyd wants him to be 6th man. That would greatly surprise me. I think he's pretty much a lock to start.
All right, and I believe a lot of people are saying, it's too small of a perimeter, this, that. I've always believed in college basketball that perimeter is a little bit, the perimeter size is a little bit overrated. Sure, you'd like to have bigger guys, but Arizona's also got 2 big men right now in Keshad Johnson and Oumar Ballo that aren't leaving about 8 feet from the paint. So you've got that protection on the back end. It's not like you're starting, 2 smaller guys there. And Caleb Love averaged 4 rebounds per game or 3.7 at North Carolina. Pella averaged 4.1 at Arizona. It's not like not starting Pell isn't going to give you the rebounding presence that you would otherwise have.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You just better make sure your guards rebound, because a large chunk of Arizona's offense is the ability to get out in transition. And you're not doing that if you're not defensive rebounding. And so Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, Kylan Boswell, they have to become better rebounders. We know Keshad Johnson and Oumar Ballo, or whatever combination that is solid, but you're going to need the guards to step up in rebounding. And if they can do it, I'm cool with the 3-guard lineup. It makes no difference to me. But that really goes for anybody. Like, all these lineups have to rebound.
Agreed. I do like some of the national people, though, that believe that somehow Kylan Boswell will not be starting next year. Kylan Boswell will be starting next year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the starting lineup. I would be lying if I said I did, but I would be more shocked at Boswell not starting than Caleb Love. I mean, one of the reasons why Kirk Creason's not on this roster anymore is because of the confidence in Kylan Boswell.
All right, and Caleb Love's video, by the way, I'm not real big on the Instagram stuff, but that Caleb Love video was very, very cool, though.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We've also got to give Tommy Gunn a little bit of credit here, though, for closing on players right now. He closed on Keshad Johnson. They left feeling very comfortable about him coming to the University of Arizona. He still tripped to Kentucky. Arizona still had him. Very similar situation with Caleb Love, but there were no more visits after that. Arizona took care of business right there. Got to give Tommy Lloyd a lot of credit there for being able to close these ones.
Yeah, I mean, he had confidence to let Keshad Johnson visit Kentucky in a similar situation, and Keshad Johnson obviously still wound up at Arizona, decided, and I'm sure Caleb Love had a big part of it, but said, you know what, you're not visiting Texas. If you want to commit, right, you're committing, and Caleb Love came down on Saturday, committed at dinner that night, and it was just a matter of, when he was going to announce.
All right, now, Tony Clifton says, good to see Luke letting Shear speak. Shear, we're always going to let you speak on the shows. You're one of our favorite people. Shear, you come in here ready and armed to speak.
I appreciate you, Mike.
All right. It's the little things. All right, now, very excited here because this team now feels to me like a top 5 to 10 team. I'm not sure that I go quite where John Rothstein went. By the way, I'm blocked by John Rothstein. I have no clue why. I don't know that I've ever tweeted at him. But either way, his loss. Or maybe it's my loss, depending. I think there's a top 5 to 10 team, though, right now. Jason, I didn't think we were even close to that at this point last year, about a month ago. And it checks off a lot of boxes. You got size, you got scoring, you got ball handling. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of ways to back the A right here that looks like Arizona's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I wouldn't even know where to begin to talk about the roster a month ago versus now. It's completely different. Tommy Lloyd went out and got multiple players that we didn't even really think that he would land or was recruiting, including international guys, whatever it may be. But I think the ceiling of this team is absolutely top 5. If Caleb Love, if everything goes right there, if Jaden Bradley is the player he was in high school and all that, this is a very, very good Arizona team.
Do you now? I'm going to put your feet to the fire because you've been speaking out of both sides. And Jason Shear, are you in on Caleb Love here? Do you sign off on Caleb Love? Because if it doesn't work, you don't get to say I told you so. And if it does work, you don't get to say I told you so. Right now, we're laying down the gauntlet. Yay or nay?
I'm torn. But I'm not going either way. I know you're forcing me to have the opinion. I will say this. I trust Tommy Lloyd. I understand. I may not agree with it, but I understand why he added Caleb Love. So you can go ahead and put me in the I'm cool with it camp. I'm okay.
All right. So if it doesn't work out, you're not going to sit here and say I told you so, correct?
Well, I don't know about that.
All right. Well, that leads me to believe that you will. I don't like that. But you look at the rest of college basketball coming in this year. Let's look at Kansas, for example. Kansas is kind of the considered the preseason number 1 team. And again, Kansas is very good. But I look at Kansas's roster, and I'm not overwhelmed to the degree that Arizona couldn't beat that team. I mean, you look up front, you've got Hunter Dickinson, Big Ten big man at its finest right there. I'm not worried about him. Then you got KJ Adams. KJ Adams, very good defensive player. He's not going to drop 30 on you. You got McCullough, 12, 13 point per game guy. DeJuan Harris is a very good point guard. They got the other transfer in there as well. I look at Arizona's roster in their top 5 and their starting lineup, and I don't see much of a huge difference there, Shear.
No, I'd agree with that. I think Kansas is in a similar spot. Like, how does Nick Timberlake do? Arterio Morris is, similar to Jaden Bradley, 5-star guy, didn't do well at Texas. And so they have questions just like Arizona does. I don't see that one team where I look at and I go like, oh man, that's the team, right? I think maybe Duke is, if everything goes right for Duke, I think they're probably the best team in the country. But that's another thing, it's if everything goes right, and so I like Duke's roster. I like Kansas' roster, but it's not the type where I look at it and I say, you know what? Arizona just can't beat that team.
All right. Sure, let me tell you about Tap and Bottle real quick. You have not come to the Tap and Bottle watch parties, and you're a lesser man for it. I'm just going to say it right now. You are. You are being held back by your own merits right there. You need to stop doing this.
Yes, sir.
All right, you need to come to one of these ones this year, though, and we can drink some Four Peaks. No matter how many U of A big man we have, we've decided it's going to be the Four Peaks +1+2. That term is not going away. You can tell your message board buddies that. But again, Tap and Bottle, check it out downtown or on the north side. Great stuff going on. Support local, support Scott and Rebecca. They do a great job. And one other one right here, Illegal Pete's. Have you been to Illegal Pete's before?
I have.
Legal Pizza is very, very good. Actually, that's not my read for the day. I do apologize. Mountain Mike's Pizza. I'm not Mountain Mike. You've thought for many years that I was Mountain Mike. I am not Mountain Mike. Mountain Mike has great pizza. We saw it in Sacramento. We've seen it other places as well. Get some good food. Bashir has been to Mountain Mike's Pizza before. I can guarantee you this. Head over to mountainmikespizza.com or to their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson location to place your next order. Reminder, new diehards get a $50 voucher upon signing up. All right, now let's talk about the conference now. I'm going to ask you this. Let's say Tommy Lloyd is the coach of both teams. Okay? Following me?
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
USC, who has a higher upside with the Tommy gun as the coach? USC or this Arizona roster?
I think Arizona has the best roster in the Pac-12 now.
My man. And you didn't think that before, though, so that means you do like Caleb Love.
Yeah, and I really like Conrad. I think Philly B's ready to I think when you talk about upside, I think that the upside of Arizona's roster is as good as anyone in the country now.
Right. And I don't know that upside was necessarily there before Caleb Love. Again, I think it was a very good roster, but Love, and again, I don't want to make him out like he's Allen Iverson right here, but Love also Love gives you a little bit of a scoring dynamic that is unique to this team as long as he can play within the confines of the offense here.
Yeah, I mean, if you can learn how to play within Tommy Lloyd's offense and all that, the offense is clearly going to be better. The big thing with the addition of Love to me is now they have a guy that can go and get you a bucket when you need it. Keshad Johnson, Oumar Ballo weren't those guys. Jaden Bradley's probably not. Boswell probably, but we don't know how much. We know that Caleb Love, the one thing we know more than anything is that Caleb Love will never be afraid to shoot the basketball.
And we like that because we had last year during the NCAA tournament, we had guys who were scared to shoot the basketball, correct?
Yeah, 100%. These guys at the end of the Princeton game, no one wanted the basketball. Caleb Love will never have that problem.
Caleb Love will never have that problem, and that's why we're happy to have him here back in the A. So I agree with you, by the way. I think it is a better roster now than USC's. I think it's fairly close, but I'm also going to side with Tommy Gunn over Andy Enfield right there. And Arizona's also, let's look at this too. Arizona's got a lot of position flexibility now that you can look at. You can go, let's just say the only team in the conference that I don't think you can get away going small with would probably be Oregon because of N'Faly Dante would destroy Keshad Johnson. That's no disrespect to Keshad Johnson. And N'Faly Dante is also 7'1" and just a better basketball player. But everybody else, I can go with a small lineup then at this point where I have Kylan Boswell, Jaden Bradley, Pella Larson, Caleb Love, and Keshad Johnson, depending, and feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of variety with these lineups. I mean, I could absolutely see a small lineup with Johnson at the 5, Pella at the 4. I could see Arizona go super big. I mean, there's going to be a lot of variety, and that's something that Arizona did not have last year. There was not nearly enough quality off the bench to do that, or even quality at certain positions to do that. Arizona has options, and that's really nice to say when you take a look at the roster and the ability to mix and match.
All right, who's the backup point guard next year? It will always be Jaden Bradley or Kylan Boswell, unless Shear wants to go out on a limb right now and say that Conrad Martinez is ready for 12 minutes per game. Are you prepared to go that far?
No, it's Boswell or Bradley at the point pretty much always.
You're a big Conrad Martinez fan, though.
I think he's better than you're giving him credit for, but I don't think he's going to play a freshman year.
Should we tell him about our bet that we have going?
Yeah, go for it.
Who plays, and all of you need to get in on this one as well. Who plays more meaningful minutes at the U of A during their career? Philly B or Conrad Martinez? Which guy? I say Philly B. Shear says Conrad Martinez, correct?
Yes.
All right. So again, we've laid down the gauntlet. Curious as to what everybody out there. This might be a good poll question later on. We'll see what people think about it. But again, also got to give Lloyd a ton of kudos here because I mean, I'm on your message boards nonstop. I'm on Twitter, and people were beating him up left and right. He can't recruit domestic players. He's always just going for the guy over in Latvia who can't play. He's shown that, yes, he is going to get the guys from Latvia, and some of them probably can't play. But he's also shown, too, that domestically he can get the horses he needs, and he also took inventory of last year's team, I think, and realized what their weaknesses were and what they needed to address.
I think the biggest compliment we can give him is what you just said. He looked at the roster and said, I need to improve this, this, and this. And then he went out and did it. I need more athleticism up front. Added Keshad Johnson. We need more guard depth. Added Jaden Bradley and Caleb Love for scoring. And, kind of international, I want another big man, more of a true center. We went and added it. And so, it's, yes, he's always going to go overseas as well. He should. Right. Mm-hmm. That's got connections over there. He's confident in his ability. They're not always going to pan out, just like, not every American player is going to pan out, but he has a strategy. And for all the criticism and crap that he got after the Ryan Nembhard situation, right. He bounced back very nicely.
It's almost like he knows what he's doing.
What?
I'm just saying it's almost like he knows what he's doing. Also, I'm debating going back and forth. I've debated this for a while amongst myself because I think to myself pretty much all day. Oumar Ballo, he was 14-8 this past year. Can Oumar Ballo become 17-8 this year? Do we even want him to be 17-8? Oh, I don't like that grin right there, Shear.
I want him 14-8 and then a backup center to be able to go into the game with little drop off.
Right. And
I want Krivas to be able to go in there or Vasar to go in there and be like, okay, that's, give us 10, 12 minutes. We're good.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat as well, but I do want Henry. I see Krivas, but I want Henry to make that jump. I think Henry's got a little bit more natural ability. I know that the Lithuanian scouts like Krivas more, but I think there's something to Henry, and I think we're going to know very quickly with Henry as well where exactly he is. I think we're going to have a good idea about Henry the first 10 games of the season and what his career is going to be like. No pressure, Henry.
We may see a lineup with Henry and Krivas. Henry at the 4. I know that there's been discussions of playing Henry at the 4 some. I think he's still the 5, but there's definitely been conversations of what it would look like if he played the 4, and they're going to give that a look in practice. But I agree with you. Henry's confidence was the number one issue with him. It wasn't ability. His confidence, he was in bad shape last season to the point where Arizona, Tommy Lloyd didn't want to play him because if it didn't go well, he was afraid that he would basically lose Henry's confidence forever. Right. That has to change. They've been working on it. We're going to know, I feel like, right away. Because when you look at that early season schedule, Henry's either playing or he's not. And if he's not, that's an issue. And if he is and he plays well against that early schedule, Arizona's in great shape.
Now, you can confirm, though, like we've seen, that Henry Vasar can actually shoot the ball.
Oh, yeah. When we've seen him in practice, he can absolutely shoot. It's not awkward or anything.
So he's got the ability to stroke it out there. He's just got to be given the platform to be able to do it. Now, out of conference scheduling, by the way, Arizona has a loaded out of conference schedule. I'm going to ask you this. There is no bigger Sean Miller fan in the world than Jason Shear outside of Sean Miller. One thing that I think was a little annoying to people is that, yes, you would have some home and homes, but you didn't really schedule that hard. Tommy Lloyd has turned that upside down right here. Is this going to be something that we can continue to get used to? Because I would like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't just do this as a one-off. I mean, the schedule, and I'll say this: Arizona is adding another game it's got top. If there's a couple draft decisions to be made, and if it goes in that team's favor, Arizona's got another top 5 matchup this season that'll probably be announced.
But it's a fake good team, though.
They're good, dude. If this guy returns, they're going to be top 5. Fair.
But I told you all year last year. I said
You're giving it away too much. You're giving away too much.
Well, you were the one that gave away. You already said they're a top 5 team waiting on the decision from a player. Gee, I wonder who that could be.
Oscar Tshiebwe. That could be.
Oh, stop. All right, Sheer, you were the one that gave that one away, not me. That's your bad. But I do love this scheduling, though. This scheduling is fantastic, and I hope they continue it. I hope they continue it going.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they were able to do a home and home here and there. That's not easy. Now, I will say, you mentioned Sean Miller and whatever. I kind of
pick up for your guy. The platform is yours.
No. I kind of get tired talking about it. But like Duke, for instance, the home and home, Arizona deserves a ton of credit. But it's not a coincidence that was scheduled right after Coach K left Duke.
Right.
Like Coach K wasn't coming out to McHale. But credit that. And then the other ones, Michigan State of Palm Springs is awesome. Alabama is awesome. The one we're talking about is awesome. And it's fun. I mean, at Duke is very cool. Now that Caleb Love is on the roster, it is fantastic.
I am very much looking forward to beating up some Big Ten teams, by the way, Sheer. Wisconsin and Michigan States of the world. Yeah. Can we get more of these teams?
I think so.
All right. I'm telling you, though, and that way we can expose them for the frauds that they are across the board. Now, the next step, though, Arizona is going to finalize a couple of their final players, but the roster is essentially set at this point. They're not adding anybody else. And you can stop texting me. Azuolas Tubelis is not coming back, and I believe his brother will be transitioned to a Gunnar Cruz type role.
Yeah, I don't know what it is going to be exactly, but last I heard, and I'm going to be honest, it's been like a month because I'm not dying for Tout Vilas updates, but he's going to remain a member of the program in some capacity. And honestly, it's probably a good idea with multiple Lithuanians coming over here and international players. He could probably help with that transition.
Arizona it's an interesting time to get Duke because you're going to get Duke at the very beginning of the season. Obviously, it's in Cameron, so Duke's going to be the heavy favorite. But with this lineup, I don't immediately dismiss Arizona's chances, though, either, Sheer. Arizona's got a chance in this. It's going to be tough because in my opinion, Duke's got the best roster in the country.
It's going to be tough. I actually think, Caleb Love going in there and not being scared at all is going to help, but you worry about like a Kylan Boswell going on the road in Duke. That's just a different animal. I mean, the Pac-12 is not comparable to that type of game. It's going to be, to me, that's the toughest out of conference game that Arizona has.
Yeah. And, but I do like now here's also why I know that Caleb Love's going to start. There's no way that Caleb Love isn't starting that game. Correct.
There's no way.
So Caleb Love, you're confirming right now that Caleb Love is starting.
Yeah, I told you, I'd be really, like, to me, the only question is, does Arizona go 3-guard with Jaden Bradley, or does it bring Bradley off the bench and start Pella? I think that's the only decision that they have to make. But
Kylan Boswell 100% will start. Now let's look at players on this team and say who we think can be all conference. I think Kylan Boswell's got the potential to be all conference. He's going to play enough minutes. He's going to put up enough points. Oumar Ballo, the leader of men, Oumar Ballo, returning. He was already all conference. It's hard to get more than 3 on there. So I think that next spot is going to be up to probably Caleb Love or Pella Larson, one of those two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It would take something pretty dramatic for another guy to make it.
All right. Now, 2024, Arizona, I think, is kind of at the point now where you hope that it's kind of just a cyclical thing right here going on. Arizona's going to be a top 10 team. TJ Van Martyr, I do not see Oumar Ballo being the conference player of the year. But you know what? If Oumar Ballo is the conference player of the year, that's a good thing for the University of Arizona, Sheer.
Is it?
If Oumar Ballo is dropping 20 and 9, he's better than we thought.
That's fair.
All right. And Chad McDonald's right here said, by the way, the most generic name ever, Chad McDonald's. Ballo is a god amongst men. I can't argue with that. I'm going to sit there and say that he is.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, now the 2024 class, because the Tommy Lloyd's going right now. He's got everything going right now. This is a top 10 team. We're going to get circled back to that here in a second. But also 2024, you got Carter Bryant, you got Jamari Phillips. Having this team in tow right now gives you a lot more flexibility there as well. Because let's just say that Kylan Boswell does go off to the NBA. I don't believe that. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything, but his camp certainly has, been open that they would like him in the NBA sooner than later. Let's just say that he goes on to the NBA just for argument's sake. This is why getting Jaden Bradley in here is fantastic. Jaden Bradley is then your point guard for the next 2 years. And then you're going to have some more options as well, because people forget Pelle Larsson can come back if he wants. Caleb Love can come back if he wants. Oumar Ballo can come back if he wants. And you're bringing in Jamari Phillips and Carter Bryant along with a plethora of internationals.
Yeah, I mean, and they got their eyes on other guys, and we don't know how big the class is going to be. But I especially like the Jaden Bradley setup because, I love Didon Thomas and Zoom Diallo. I think they're both really good.
We were never getting that.
But what I'm saying is, are they better than a junior Jaden Bradley?
No.
With 1 year in the Arizona system? Probably not.
And I don't understand the argument, and I'm not getting it as much anymore. Well, Jaden Bradley only had 6 and 3 at Alabama. And I keep telling people this was the most talented team in the country last year, and he still put up 6 points and 3 assists per game. It's not like he was buried at the bottom of the bench with absolutely no chance of ever playing.
Yeah, and look, I mean, something happened, right, at Alabama that we know about, and that's when his season kind of went off the rails. But you look at some of the games, I mean, this is still the same guy that had 10 points against North Carolina. He dropped 18 against Gonzaga, right? And they lost.
He's good.
He still had good games.
Right. And he was a top 30 recruit like a year ago. Now, listen, if he was at Alabama for 4 years and averaged 6 and 3 as a fourth-year senior, yeah, all right, you're probably worried a little bit about the upside. I'm not worried about the upside, though, because of that. You know what else I'm not worried about, Sheer? I saw you yesterday wearing a polo on TV or on the internet. This is correct.
Yes, I have to admit to it.
All right, now, one thing that would have made you look even slicker than you normally look is pins and aces. It's now when you think golf, you probably think Jason Shear, and if you don't, it's probably Tiger Shear probably comes to mind at some point. But pins and aces, they make you look cool. Check out pinsandaces.com and use code word PHNX to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's Pins and Aces. You can love our Pins and Aces gear, get tons of compliments on and off the court. Or if you're like Sheer and you're doing these national broadcasts, you could wear a Pins and Aces polo on there and look even cooler, Sheer. And one other thing, too, that we got to get in here, the Four Peaks. The movement will not die. We are stating this right now, just like the beer will not die. It's the official brew of PHNX Sports. And you can get it at our tap and bottle watch parties, or you can check out Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest on Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 years or up to enjoy Four Peaks. Please drink responsibly. Okay, now let's look at this. Let's look at this front court then. Krivas, the mystery Euro, are both guys that are obviously going to play up there. Dylan Anderson as well. I know people don't redshirt in this day and age, but I wouldn't mind 2 players on this team redshirting. Sheer, can we make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see. I think we're on the same page. Dylan, and who's the other one?
I would like to see somebody, because all those dudes aren't going to play. Maybe, hey, your guy Conrad Martinez, perhaps.
Yeah, I could see him redshirting. That wouldn't shock me.
All right, so Dylan and Conrad, the future Stockton to Malone, they redshirt this year, and they come back ready to go.
Ready to dominate. Not ready to go, ready to dominate.
Right, ready to dominate. But, again, you got to give Lloyd a lot of credit here, because this is a very, very good roster now. And just if you're looking at pure talent, this is a top 10 roster in the country, where it felt like here I'm getting excited and going around in circles here. This team's roster is more talented than last team's roster. Zoo might be better than any player on this roster, but this team is a better team than last year's team, which was a number 2 seed.
I completely agree with that. And look, I'm not going to sit here and argue Zoo's better than, or Keshad Johnson is better than Zoo, but he's more athletic. He is better.
He runs the court the same way.
He runs the court, and so Zoo is clearly much better offensively. Caleb Love, Kirk Kriisa. I don't want to get into that argument, but
let's get into it. Who would you prefer, Kirk Kriisa over Caleb Love? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think they're entirely that different, if that makes sense.
Who would you rather have?
I think Caleb Love I'd rather have, but
you can see the argument for Kerr. Is that what you're going with?
I think Kerr's a better passer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kerr's a better passer. He's a point guard. Caleb Love's not a point guard in any way, shape, or form.
All right, fair enough. Kerr also can't shoot. Kerr can't play defense.
Yeah. But people would say
can't penetrate
or play defense either.
But Caleb can at least penetrate. Kerr can't penetrate. He's the only point guard ever that couldn't penetrate.
That's fair. I get it.
Oh, by the way,
he's better than any guard. I mean, Kylan Boswell, but you know what I mean.
All right, B-Cat just says Mystery Euro is greater than Philly B. Are we going to sit here and allow this?
I would say nothing is greater than Philly B.
Yes, exactly. By the way, I got the Patron burrito today at Filiberto's. Very, very good. Have you had this burrito?
You know, I went to Filiberto's once after you posted pictures there. I had a breakfast burrito. It was solid, much bigger than I thought it would be.
Dude, they're huge. That's the best part about it.
Yeah, those are very large burritos.
I was going to say, and was it, did it digest well?
It did. And last night I went to Portillo's.
Oh, Portillo's is fantastic.
Yeah.
Portillo's, if you guys haven't been to Portillo's, it is great. Portillo's is one of the best restaurants in Tucson. I just said it.
Calm down. Your diet consists of Portillo's, Filiberto's, and what?
Del Taco.
Del Taco would be third.
I feel like I've been cheating on Del Taco. I haven't been to Del Taco in a while. All right, speaking of cheating on it, here, conference realignment talk, our favorite thing right here. Still no TV deal no numbers. Let me ask you this. Are there ever going to be numbers presented?
I don't know. You know, it's funny that you brought up realignment because I just got sent an article that I had missed in the Memphis newspaper. That Memphis is a target of the Big 12 as well.
Interesting. I like Memphis. I dig Memphis. One thing that I can say I feel very comfortable in saying this, is that Deion Sanders 100% prefers being in the Big 12 than the Pac-12, and Deion Sanders has a lot of sway in the Colorado athletic department.
Yeah, there were people that were surprised that Deion Sanders would have a say, but if Deion Sanders is telling Colorado, I'll stay for longer if you join the Big 12. I mean, Colorado made something like they made profit on their spring game.
Right.
Like it's like Rick George isn't dumb. You know, they just announced TV times today, and Colorado's first 3 games are national television. That's not happening with who was their last coach?
Carl Durrell?
Was he? Yeah. That's
he might have been before that, yeah. Who was Colorado? Who was Colorado's coach last year?
Well, it was Durrell, wasn't it?
Actually, I think it was Carl Durrell.
Yeah, but then he got But then they hired what's his name as the I don't remember.
All right, but Deion Sanders, the name Deion Sanders brings in more monetary value than Colorado football does. You do what Deion wants.
Yeah, if Deion says I'm going to stay longer, then yeah.
And by the way, some people have Colorado, speaking of which, have Colorado in their top 25 for basketball preseason. I believe Rothstein did, off the strength of Cody Williams.
Well, Tristan Da Silva just announced that he's coming back as well. That's a good roster.
It's not a bad roster. And I know we don't like Tad Boyle in these parts, but Tad Boyle's not a bad coach. Not a great coach, but not a bad coach.
Tad Boyle or Andy Enfield, if you had to choose?
Oh, Andy Enfield all day.
All right, just making sure.
It's crazy to say this. He's more dynamic than Tad Boyle. And Andy Enfield, nobody ever looks at Andy Enfield and says, "Man, that's a dynamic personality right there."
Yeah, Tad Boyle does nothing for me.
Is it because of the I almost said the Sean Shear stuff, the Sean Miller stuff?
No, it just does nothing for me. And I know that had Sean left years ago, that Tad Boyle would have been one of Greg Burns' calls because they're buddies. Imagine that. Tad Boyle, head coach of Arizona.
That's gross. Lost Highway says Deion will be gone in 2 years. I don't see how they're going to win more than 2 games this year. I believe they'll win more than 2 games this year.
They'll win more than 2.
You got to remember too. I am curious about his kid, and not to turn this into the Colorado thing, but I am curious about his son though at quarterback. That should be interesting. I'm very curious to see how good he is.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it translates. You could look awesome all day. I mean, look, no disrespect to the Jackson States of the world, but if you took Jaden to Laura and whatever roster, they would put up stupid numbers, and that's what Jackson State did. They had superior talent to everyone. Colorado doesn't. So I'm curious to see how it works.
All right, but one team that does have superior talent, though, is Arizona basketball. I am curious if they're going to be preseason. If they're going to be preseason pick to win the conference this year. I bet you they are, Sheer.
I think my vote will probably go towards them. Yes.
All right. That was the most humble brag ever. I think my vote might go to that. Sheer, how did you get this vote?
Actually, the SID just asked me if I wanted one because someone left.
Oh, very cool. And
we gotta figure out what Bruce is voting for. That's the real question.
All right. Here's a couple places that I think I can safely say. Wilner will have Arizona 6th. Bruce, I believe Bruce will pick Arizona 3rd.
Okay, I was going to go 2 behind USC, but you're going.
You definitely won't pick Arizona 1 for sure. No way he picks Arizona 1.
No. You're going USC, Oregon, Arizona for Bruce?
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, Sheer, by the way, there is a movement to have a Jason Sheer OnlyFans group. Sheer, take your shirt off, please. You do not need to do this. Do not do it.
We're good.
Big stuff right there, Sheer. But I believe Bruce will pick Arizona 3rd. Wilner, so where do you think Wilner picks Arizona 6?
He said the other day that USC and Arizona had the 2 best rosters. I'll never forgive him for forgetting who Azuolas Tubelis was.
Well, I also won't forgive him either when he had the Ben Mathurin team. Now, listen, I know that it was you had a lot of moving parts, but you could still look at a roster that had Ben Mathurin and Azuolas Tubelis on there and say, you know what, they might be better than 9th.
Yeah, that was awesome too.
That was awful. It was behind such luminaries as like Washington State and schools like that. So, yeah. All right. Now, before we sign off, let's talk a little bit of Arizona football because I'm excited. We had Jake Fisher on last week. Jake Fisher is going above and beyond the Call of Duty here. Jake Fisher has picked Arizona to win 7 games in the regular season before the bowl. I don't dismiss that as out of hand. I don't dismiss that as poppycock.
I don't think it's crazy. No, it can happen. They got to win the games. Like they got to beat Stanford. Right. They got to beat UTEP, obviously. The Stanfords of the world, the Washington State, the ASU. Those are the games they have to win. They can't. Right. They can't lose one of those games.
They can't lose one of those games. I agree, but I also think they're probably going to win a couple games that they otherwise that maybe because Arizona does this every year where they win a couple game or win a game or two that nobody sees happening.
Yeah, the big game to me is and I'm looking up their schedule. That's why I'm typing the Mississippi State game. They have one game before that, and it's against Southeast Louisiana. So Arizona, and then the following week they have LSU. So that game to me, and we know what's going on at Mississippi State with Leach and all that, and their new head coach, all that. I think Arizona has a very real chance to go in there and come up with an upset.
Yes, I agree with that. By the way, TLN says Arizona will be awesome this year, and all the people who say, oh, but Tommy did it with Miller's players can finally shut up. Sheer, I agree with this.
Yeah, this is his team. No doubt about it. And he's either going to get, complimented and everyone's going to, praise him, or he's going to get ridiculed for whatever happens. So,
all right. Now, before I get Sheer on record on something else right here, Fubo TV. Okay. You can watch Arizona with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo TV. And again, you got events coming up. You got the NBA Finals. You got the NHL Draft. You got the French Open. You name it. Fubo TV's got it. Check it out. Check out the show notes and the link in the description. All right, Sheer. I'm going to put your hand to the fire right here. Is 3 years from now, what conference is Colorado in?
Oh, come on.
I know you're not a Colorado fan, so nobody's holding you. What's that?
Big 12.
Big 12. All right. We got it right there. And again, we're going to kind of go from here, but we got Sheer on record saying in 3 years he believes Colorado's in the Big 12. Theoretically, if Colorado leaves, does that make it easier for other schools to leave?
I would assume so, yeah.
All right. That's what we like to hear around here, Shear. All right. Before we sign off, where can they find Jason Shear? Where can they find all of this stuff?
WildcatAuthority.com, at Jason Shear on Twitter, and then the Wildcat Scoop podcast with Shelby.
All right. Shelby you let Shelby talk more than Goodman let you.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because she runs that house at the end of the day. So
Shelby knows what Shelby wants.
All right. On that note, for Jason Shear, I'm Mike Luke, Jacob Franklin behind the scene, who has not been seen or heard. Back to the A, everybody. We'll be back with you tomorrow with resident Arizona King Aaron Torres coming back, making his triumphant return to the podcast. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.